Top of the morning to you guys. Last weekend, my car club, which I belong to, visited me. The name of the car club is the Sterling British Motoring Society. It started in Mount Sterling, not because of Sterling Moss, or sorry, Sir Sterling Moss. And you can join with any kind of cars, and then we just go for a drive once a month, and then have a dinner once a month. And it's like a really good bunch of people. So they came out and they had a little party break here at my place. So because of them, I pulled out some of my cars. So before I put my cars away, I made a little bit of a guided tour video of them. So please come with me and check out those cars, what I pulled out.
All right, so her name is Tesla. She's a Valpino Italiano doggy. She's very yappy, so when the car club was here, I just put her back in the house to make sure we don't have unnecessary yapping going on here. But next to her, this is a 64 Vespa. It's a 160 GS. I don't know if it's an Italian Vespa or it's from somewhere else, but it's a really reliable piece. It runs great. And this next one is a Simpson. It's a 1958 Simpson 425 Sport or Sport. I also have a Stoya sidecar for it, which I need to prepare and put next to it. It's actually sort of looked like a 250 BMW, but it was East German. So in East Germany, they got a hang of the BMW factory where they started to push out BMWs. The BMW factory went after them and sued them. They said, no, you can't do that. So they changed the sign to EMW. So they changed the blue color to red, and they called them Eisenach Motorwerken instead of Bayerische Motorwerken. Then BMW still wasn't too excited about that. So finally they said, well, okay, let's just call it Simpson. So there it is. It is a Simpson. It actually has a drive shaft drive on the back, just like on the BMWs. I don't know if the parts are actually interchangeable with a BMW, but it is what it is. About 250cc, 4-stroke, and a drive shaft driven East German Simpson. So these are two buses, bus number 1 and bus number 2. One is a 53, the other one is a 59. They're called the PD 4104 GMC buses. They have blown 671 engines, diesel engines, 2-stroke diesels. Well, they both actually work. They are in sad shape, but I have plans to fix this one up and make it to a nice RV. But let's look at these cars. The first two are Austin Healey's from 1960. This one is called the Bug-Eye Sprite or the Frog-Eye Sprite. And the other one is the Big Healey, they call it, even though it's kind of like a smaller car nowadays. It's a Austin Healey 3000, again from 1960. This one has a 3000 cc 6-cylinder engine. And this is the older version with a side shifter. And the windows are not crankable. You gotta actually just get it in your hand, and you basically place it on the side, and then there's little sliders on the side where you can actually slide the windows open or shut. This car is in really in a sad shape, but looks great on the picture and actually drives, so I like to drive it wherever I can. The other one, we built it for a long time. I built it for my friend John Norwood, and it was basically built on his plans, and it's his vision. He wanted to have a Bug-Eye Sprite, which sort of could look like a race car, but we never raced it. It is not a race car. It's got a 1275 in it with a Weber carburetor. I built that little bump behind you for your head, so for aerodynamics, and the whole little thing basically resembles a race car. And it runs fine. Yep. So this is the little Bug-Eye. So they call this one the Big Healey, and they call this one they not call it the Little Healey, but definitely it is a little car. So the idea was that they wanted to make a more affordable Austin Healey in the factory. So they went around with a push cart, and they were basically shopping for parts in the factory. So they got the 850cc engine and the rack and pinion steering from a Morris Oxford, and the brakes came from all the other Austins, what you were able to find in the factory. They wanted to make the front lights flippable, make them flip, but it was too expensive to do, so they were trying to keep the cost down. So finally they came up with this, and it got together. You could not open the trunk. You can move the seats forward, and you can put something in there, but not that much. and it had actually a windshield here. This one is modified, obviously, but it came a little cute little car, and it's actually pretty drivable. Well, not this one. This one is very the suspension is really hard, and yeah, it's good for a show, and then maybe go out to the next city for a car show, but that's basically it. But a normal Sprite is a very lovely little car. So that's the little Austin here is Sprite, or Bug-Eye or Frog-Eye Sprite. So now from the Heelys we go over to East Germany. This is an East German Trabant. It's made out of cotton. It's compressed cotton. You know, the Russians took all the machinery from Germany and they left them with a bunch of unusable Russian dirty cotton. They didn't know what to do with it, so they started to develop a way to mix it with resin, compress it for 8 minutes, and then a body panel would come out of it. So the hood, the side panels, the door panels, the roof, and on the sedan versions, actually the trunk lid was made out of Duraplast, which is cotton fiber mixed with resin. The interesting part is this will never crack. Unlike on a Corvette, the Corvette fiberglass will crack if you leave it outside, or by time. This thing will never crack. You can see the fiber here, and they just trimmed it. And the way they set up the gap on the door is actually used a big scissors and they trimmed it. It was really easy to work with. So you can see a safety first child seat in the back. I found it in Hungary, and then had the chrome redone on it. And it's got a 4-speed manual shifter. It's got independent suspension. Doesn't have any water pump because it's air cooled. Doesn't have a fuel pump because it's a drop tank. And here's the fuel gauge. That's how you check the fuel. So it's a lovely little car. I grew up with it, not with this one, but one just like it. So that's why I have this car. Kind of fixed it up. You can see it's in very good condition, and it's very reliable. Every time I take it out from the garage, this thing runs. It starts and stops. I love it. Now we're heading over to West Germany. This one is a 240D. It's a W115 series, and this one has automatic transmission, 4-cylinder diesel engine, and it's a leftover car. The lady who bought it from Massachusetts, she actually took delivery of it in Europe and drove it around Europe for a while, and then gave it back to the factory. They shipped it in and imported it in, and then it ended up in Sacramento, well, next to Sacramento, in Woodland, California, where one of my buddy's dad used to use it for a long time. It's ended up at my buddy's place, and then he gave it to his son, and it was too slow for the teenage son, and they just give up on it, so they sold it to me. And since then I fixed a lot of things on it, and it drives really nice now. So still staying in Germany. This one is a W107. I call it Hans. That's the car's name. It's a special order car. It's a manual 4-speed with a 6-cylinder engine. It's got a dual cam 6-cylinder engine. They ordered it with power windows, air conditioning, the polished aluminum rims, and ABS in 1981. I think the ABS didn't come to the US until 86 or 87. I'm not too sure, but it does have an ABS. It doesn't work, but it has it. So I got a factory tool now what I can use to set up the ABS system, or actually troubleshoot the ABS system. So I'll make a video off of it. It's really exciting to me. But I used to drive this car to work, to the airport, and now I just put a new top on it, and I really like it. I really enjoy driving it. But since I have my little Fiat Spider, like a 2018 124 Spider, it's so easy to drive and so easy to put the top down and up and down, I haven't really driven this car too much since then, because that car is everything I'm looking for in a little roadster. So this is it for West Germany. Let's come back to the US, and this is a 1960 DeSoto. This was a pre-production car. As I understand, they made 50 of these, and they sent it out to the dealers in 1959 to show what the 1960 model year going to look like. And then very similar color scheme is on the advertisements also for the 1960 DeSoto. It put all kind of goodies in it, except the air conditioning. I'm very sad that it didn't have air conditioning, posi traction, and the autopilot, which is the cruise control at that time. But it did have swivel seats. So if you see this one, you can swivel it out. So if you wear a miniskirt, you don't have to spread your legs to get out of the car. Makes it easier. I love that feature. This is what I was looking for. It also has power seats, 6-way power seats, power windows. And the radio doesn't work right now, but I have another radio that probably can fix it. It's got push button transmissions, a really nice looking car. I love this thing with all these fins and all. I really love it. I had one in Hungary, but unfortunately never ran. And when I left, when I sold it, they cut it up and they made it to well, they put it in a burger joint where you can sit in it, just like in a movie Pulp Fiction. But that poor car is gone. Well, this next car is a Ford Fairlane from '57. We got it for $800. You're looking at 9 years out of my life. What's in this car? I really got it from my uncle, and then really I learned a lot from him, but he never got to finish it, so I finally ended up buying from him when we finished it. And we drove all over the place with this thing. I found an age-appropriate registration sticker for it. The interior is, I think it looks really nice. I put this little mat, I put this little blanket on it so we don't mess up the seats. The radio works on it, and it's just a very reliable car. We've been to San Francisco and Yosemite Park and Las Vegas and Route 66 and all over the place with this car. I love it. Every time I sit in it, it just goes. It's got a 292 Y block in it. And this is Betsy. Betsy is a 1956 Buick wagon, a special from all. I got it in Massachusetts, and then I drove across the country with it trying to find a job. I was knocking on every airport door I found looking for a job. Finally I got a job in Idaho flying a Chieftain with 10 people in it, but the car made it really nicely. And then I drove it all over the place from Cleveland to Los Angeles. I've been everywhere with this car, so it doesn't look much, but it drives very nicely. I added a flamethrower, so before we put it away, this is gonna be the last car what we put away when the sun is going down. We're gonna make Betsy breathe some fire for you. And I just got a 3-way switch. I got 2 spark plugs in the back, and she will breathe some fire this evening for you. Lizzie, or 1926 Model T. Lizzie is not technically a Tin Lizzie, because you would call a Tin Lizzie a lot older version, but we just call her Lizzie nonetheless. She's a great car. I traded it for a motorcycle with a sidecar, a Russian Ural, because my kids were trick-or-treating and they couldn't fit in it, so they were fighting over the sidecar. So with this car they had enough space to sit on, stand on, and do whatever they had to do for trick-or-treating. But now the kids are teenagers, so we don't do that anymore. Maybe when they have their kids of their own, maybe they will do the same thing with it, because I'm pretty sure we're gonna have it even then. I need to change the upholstery and the top on it. I have the upholstery already, I don't have the top yet, but she always starts and drives very nicely, and just like a Model T should. I don't want to get into how do you drive a Model T, right? You have 3 pedals and none of them are the clutch or the gas. But I got a new horn on it. Yep. This is Lizzie.
Well, this is it for now. I do have a lot more cars what I could talk about, but they haven't been out at this time. I come up with new videos every Friday. Please consider subscribing, and see you guys next Friday with something else. Bye.